I'm on that good cushion.
No, none of that. Shame on you. Anyways, happy belated Halloween, everybody. Tony, cue the intro. Hey, look, this pro tag isn't female, it's a dead guy instead. Also, because this video was supposed to come out in Halloween, I was gonna have a jump scare planned, but nah, I'm not gonna do it.
I lied.
Yeah, I'm sorry, that's the only one, I promise. Please don't dislike. These are tacos de...
Oh, I'm coming,
I'm gonna come.
and hell is coming with me.
Blood West. The Wild West is personally one of my favorite settings in video games, especially if it has some sort of weird or creepy twist to it. I remembered when Red Dead's Undead Nightmare came out and it had me hooked on the idea that horror and the good old jihad days can go hand in hand like two dudes on a mountain somewhere in Wyoming.
Excuse me, what the actual fuck are you doing in my house?
Pues, los vatos over at Hyperstrange put that idea to juice and made Blood West. The Western horror stuff, not the cowboy. A low poly game made in the Unity engine that is basically Lovecraftian horror in a jihad setting. Or should I say, fear-ha setting.
Oh my god,
What, you out of your mind? I mean, I don't understand that. What's that like? Hey, you!
Anyways, the premise of the game is that you're an undead man in a western wonderland, and you'll be doing some walking, talking, rootin', tootin', shooting, looting, gunslinging, feather bringing, iron swinging, sightseeing to the town of Agua Fria, rode a stranger one fine day with a big iron on his hip, having bandolier rattling, lady pleasing, grave thieving, ghost busting, occult lady lusting, jihading cowboy who must journey through the land to find out why he can't die. So how does this game play? The tortilla holding it all together, so to speak. Well, let's talk about it, shall we? So unlike the previous games I reviewed, this one is not in early access and is good to go. It has 3 beautifully crafted chapters, all taking place in unique environments that feel believable in that American West fiction type of way, if that makes sense. The first of these is the Canyon, which gives players an idea as to what they'll be getting themselves into. There's a town that's got a saloon, a creepy ass church, a fort hiding secrets, burial grounds with floating heads, and some caves that feel kinda mazy-like. The second one is a swamp. It's a lot more murky and kinda gives me this Point Lookout vibe from Fallout 3. They really up the ante with the Eldritch Lovecraftian setting here, showcasing a strong emphasis on more occult themes. And last being the mountains, which feels like the biggest out of all the chapters in terms of map and story. It has this niche little beauty meets brutality feel that gives elements of old-timey American tales set in a mountainous range. Each level is packed with things to do, like side quests and exploration that rewards players with loot, and of course they all end with a cool boss fight.
How dare you strike me with your tail!
That ain't my tail, bitch.
When it comes to the mechanics, the game has basic RPG elements that allow for XP gain. After leveling up, you get 3 perk points to spend on the perk system, which is aight, it's not groundbreaking. Another game mechanic is the artifact system that provides additional buffs to your character. You get 3 slots and some versatility to find a build tailored to how you want to play. Some artifacts do have penalties though, and I assume this is not to make the player feel too overpowered or add an extra layer of challenge. Furthermore, the Totem of Souls can offer blessings as well, which are extra buffs that remain on your character until death.
You can only select one. What will it be?
Speaking of getting turned into a hashtag, you get penalized for this by getting cursed, which gives you debuffs. They usually start out small, but stack up once you get to 3, the curses are permanent. However, you can ask the Totem of Souls to cure you, which requires you to do some sort of fetch quest, or you could do what I do and just buy a potion that takes it away, which is faster, but will run you 180 in-game dollars. As far as other mechanics go, there is inventory management similar to that of Resident Evil, so be wise with what you take. You can stash some of your hard-earned loot in a camp, but even that's limited, which, I'm used to this being kind of infinite, but I can see why the devs did this to add another layer of challenge. The items you'll be coming across can be used to aid your journey. You got your standard healing items, which heal in real time, potions that can give temporary status effects, items that can help you get out of a pinch, and alcohol, because what kind of cowboy is trying to be sober during the apocalypse? Gameplay-wise, it is a shooter. The shooting is okay at best in my opinion. The game has a heavier emphasis on stealth more than anything. Aquí, calladitos se ven más bonitos. You got a little bar that displays icons showing if an enemy can see or hear you. You'll also be able to peek from side to side to see if there are enemies in the way, which is really helpful, especially around the corners. I bring this up because, just watch. Another helpful mechanic is throwing rocks in a direction to make them run towards the noise, which is good for setups like this one right here. or just for sneaking past them. Now, if you're more of a guns blazing kind of feller, well, you can definitely go ahead and exercise your Second Amendment rights, but it's much riskier and your chances of getting folded like a lawn chair at a beach trip with alcoholic Hispanics are higher than Snoop Dogg smoking Zaza from the Garden of Eden. Plus, ammo's tricky to come by in the beginning, so get used to hacking and slashing before running and gunning. Weapon variety is as diverse as it gets. You got big irons for the hip, lever action and buffalo rifles for those long distance relationships, double barrel shotties, Minecraft bow, the Daryl Dixon special, a Californian's worst nightmare, they named this axe after a stake, and a lot of melee weapons. There are also these unique weapons as well that have special effects like getting health back after every headshot, or another where sneaking is more efficient by 25%. Others though have negative effects. This sword for example has some cracked damage but miss a swipe and you take bleeding damage. There's also a bow that has infinite ammo but at the cost of 5 health points but can also shoot through enemies. Of all the unique weapons though, my favorite one is this ethereal tomahawk that has an infinite amount but you gotta wait 3 seconds for another to appear, which isn't too bad. I was pretty cracked with this, not gonna lie. Tony, show a montage of me giving headshots with this.
It's peanut butter jelly time, peanut butter jelly time, peanut butter jelly time.
Enemies are abundant. You got zombies, floating heads, coffin zombies, bird people, water zombies, cryptids, infected zombies, Appalachian folk, ghosts, sexy ghosts, water puppies, Boogie 2988, cultists, oh, and occasionally your mom makes an appearance too. There's more enemies of course, but I'll leave that up to you guys to go out and hunt for them. Enemy AI is pretty good here as well. Each behaves differently from one another in terms of strategy and attack patterns while also having their own weaknesses. Prodigal daughters, for example, when breaking their masks become more volatile, but now headshots are easier. The big fellas are immune to headshots and can also keep up with you in speed, surprisingly, but will tire out, which gives you a good opportunity to start blasting them or set them on fire. Gun-wielding enemies will keep a distance from you and even dodge your bullets, look for cover, or just change positions entirely. Ethereal type enemies are weaker to silver bullets, so try and keep those handy. But yeah, you can tell the devs really made it so that each enemy type is its own thing and not just some cheap variant of another. And I know I listed out all the zombie types, but surprisingly those also behave differently. So yeah, no, they really did their work with the enemies. The overall gameplay is great. The stealth is amazing, the enemies can be kind of fearsome and overwhelming if you're not careful, the perk system is easy to understand, and the artifacts and blessings help spice up the game. So here comes the part where I talk smack. For starters, the AI and the enemies, although unique, well, it's also kinda stupid. Like whenever I get caught, I can just run and crawl into a little crawl space right here or run down a ladder, then I could just chill somewhere where they probably can't reach me, then wait it out, and well, that's it I guess. So admittedly, it stopped being scary after I found out I could just exploit these guys. Look, the artifact system is muy chingon and deserves praise, but some of these can feel pretty situational. I ended up selling a few of these because I just couldn't find any real use for them. My reaction when getting a new artifact went from, ooh, okay, nice to, oye, cabron, how much can I squeeze you for this? Do you know what I mean? Same with some of the unique weapons. Some I flat out didn't bother with them, like the sword I mentioned. The penalty, in my opinion, is not worth it. Also, some of the unique weapons and artifacts have this massive con where you literally can't take them off unless you die or use a potion, which honestly made me nope the fuck out of juicing them entirely and instead sold them. Some people might find these useful in their builds, but if I have to die and risk ethereal tuberculosis or throw down $180 just to take the damn thing off, then I'd rather just sell it to buy something more worth my time. The shooting here, like I said, is okay at best, but there were moments where I would use the hipfire and could have sworn I had a shot aligned for a headshot or just a plain body shot, but the game wouldn't register it or something and then miss. I tested this theory out for myself. Watch. Look, I know hipfire isn't supposed to be accurate, but you'd think that an undead cowboy would have better accuracy than, I don't know, a blind 5-year-old with a broken hand. Another slight issue that I had with the game were frame rate issues, and banda, I try to make sure it was me and not the game. Hell, I even checked to see if my GPU drivers were up to date, but this was a common occurrence and has happened often. Does it ruin the gameplay for me? Not entirely, but it got annoying. If anyone else played the game and has experienced this, please let me know in the comments. Despite that though, the game is still fun and the mechanics work well with each other. I've yet to encounter any game-breaking bugs or glitches too, which is really rare in this day and age, so I'll definitely praise it for that. The puzzle pieces fit, so to speak, but the pieces you could tell have seen better days. That being said, the tortilla rating for this gets a Guerrero gluten-free tortilla, so a 3.5 out of 5. Now time to get into the meat of this game. La carne, the story. What do we have going on? Well, you play as an unnamed undead gunslinger who is brought back to do the bidding of the Totem of Souls. The game starts out with a monologue by this guy saying, "White man bring bad things to the land." Type shit, not gonna lie. He was nice enough to give us a proper burial, but we awaken and then come to find out that our good old America has been plagued by a curse. No, this curse ain't that bad in comparison. Anyways, it's up to Daddy McDeadguy to find out what's causing the evil and put it to rest, while also trying to put your own soul at rest as well. Fun fact, this guy was voiced by Steven Russell. Some of you know him as the guy from Thief. I know him as my favorite detective in a post-apocalyptic nuclear hellscape. Back to the story though. In chapter 1, you get told that a great evil plagues the land and you must destroy it cause you got it. Okay, cool. You search for 3 cursed items, you give it to the Totem of Souls, there's more items, and if you collect them all, you get a useful artifact. I recommend it. In chapter 2, the story picks up a bit and now we're introduced to people who might be able to figure out how the evil can be destroyed. Also, the evil exists because, surprise surprise, it's all tied to some Cthulhu stuff. Anyways, there's a drunken priest, a kid who talks to shadows and dead people, and a lady with a nice pair of eyes, and bad trust issues. More characters are introduced later on, but this chapter also has some light decision making which carries over in chapter 3. Finally, chapter 3 is where things take it up a notch in terms of story, where now you're kind of put in this position of, okay, I may or may not have been played. Without spoiling it, of course, you realize that you're caught between a rock and a hard place, and well, now it's time to take care of business. The game does a stupendous job at environmental storytelling. Anytime I've come across either an abandoned camp or a point of interest, it does not pull any punches in giving players an idea as to what went down. This to me was really cool because it makes my mind wonder about what happened, and if you come across any journal entries, then even better in my opinion because it gives some context. But other than that, yeah, the story here is one of those types where you kind of have to rely on dialogue options and journal entries while paying close attention. I can see how some might not like that, and some parts of the dialogue did drag on a bit, but the voice work here is pretty decent, despite the bad lip syncing.
The force responsible for their creation took the traits of the local flora and fauna into account. Even the
as far as who our protagonist is and what we uncover of them, pues no hay nada, banda. There ain't much to know about Señor Muerto. Was he a good guy? Who cares, he's dead. Was he a bastard? Who cares, he's dead. Was he a legend at least? Who cares, he's dead. The game does make note of this, but some context as to who this guy is would be kinda nice. The one-liners are cool, I guess, pero banda, even Gordon Freeman had a backstory, and that fool spoke as much as Charlie Chaplin in his movies. Major spoilers, skip to this timestamp, you have been warned. Chapter 2's decision making was kinda meh. Basically both Annabelle and the priest have some sort of curse and there's only one cure. Now the game clearly wants you to pick Annabelle because despite her rough introduction, you could tell it's easier to like her more than the priest. Plus you find out that the priest is kind of a piece of shit later on, so yeah, the game clearly wants you to pick Shotgun Mommy. Can't say I blame them, they gave me 2 good reasons. But this does sort of take away some of the immersion in my opinion because of the biasness to it. They did sort of remedy this though, where if you do choose the priest, you actually fight Annabelle in the next chapter as a prodigal daughter but with more HP, and you get a unique artifact. Which, hey, for what it's worth, they did try, but I still felt like there could have been more to play with here. I also want to add that the story did feel a bit predictable. Furthermore, the way they went towards the end didn't surprise me much and, dare I say, cliche, but it does leave it open for a possible sequel or maybe some DLC. Either way, the story was not this game's biggest focus, but for what it's worth, it's not boring and the world is interesting, but don't expect to be blown away. So the meat rating gets a thinly sliced steak with salt and pepper, which is a 3 out of 5. Not a whole heap of meat in this story, could use some seasoning, but hey, I mean, it's not bad. Now onto the toppings of this game. En otras palabras, the little things like the artwork, sound design, attention to detail, and side content in a game similar to things like onions, cilantro, and that squeeze of limon in a taco. Right off the bat here, this game's art direction was genius. Making it look like these PS1 style graphics was a good design choice, and honestly, I can't see it working any other way. I say this because the cutscenes are animated beautifully and have this comic book art style to it that gives a lot more details to some of the in-game enemies where you see some really heinous body horror type shit. Seeing it in the game though, it's not as stylistic per se, but your mind does this thing where it's like, wait, this looks way worse than it does. I don't know how to explain it, but it adds an element of eeriness to it that scratches that part of my brain that gives me happy chemicals. The sound design here is by far some of the best that I have ever heard. I know I criticized this game for not being too scary after a while, but it still maintains that element of horror with some of the noises these enemies make. Just listen to some of this.
So forever? Yeah, I am eternal.
Banda, whoever their audio engineer was, they deserve a raise because Dios mío, I felt very immersed within Blood West's world through sound alone. Speaking of immersion, this game is considered an immersive sim, and I can see why. I already pointed out the sound design and the previously mentioned inventory management system, but there's also no order as to how you want to do quests. So you're free to start wherever you please and go wherever you want. You can flat out finish quests before even beginning them, so that's nice. Other little details include if you're bleeding, you need gauze, otherwise you slowly lose health. When you're drunk, it has that drunk effect, which kind of looks accurate, I won't lie. Some NPCs have their own little idle animations, which add a layer of believability to them. Like here, you got one of the Skadegamuch doing a little dance, and sometimes this guy will pull out a guitar and start playing it.
Beginning to wonder if there is even a world beyond the barren lands.
Anyways, here's Wonderwall. So, where does this game fumble in the toppings? Some things here and there. For starters, while quest narratives were creative, the quests themselves were a bit repetitive. Matter of fact, I can't think of a quest in here that wasn't a fetch quest really. Some rewards would be worth it, however, I sorta wish they tried something different with each one. Now, as far as the whole immersive sin part, once more, I can see why it calls itself that. I, however, say it has elements of one, but it lacks in things like environmental destruction. For example, fire in this game doesn't really spread, let alone not have any brightness to it. There's not a whole lot of physics here other than like fall damage, but I can run into a cactus and somehow be fine.
Green means go.
And there's a lack of world interactivity. I mean, I could play a piano. That's cool, I guess. But I was hoping there would be a bit more, like opening up cabinets or, you know, being able to interact with the environment around me that could possibly aid me during stealth. Or just even basic physics, such as like moving around boxes and stuff. But you don't get a whole heap of that. Best you get is getting drunk as hell and start blasting anything you see, which hey, I mean, this is the Wild West. Final criticism, the game has these note pages that give information on enemies and world building, which is great, and I even felt the need to always pick them up. Well, somehow they pulled an Amber Heard and shot the bed on this one because notes are treated like items that take up space in the inventory. What? Instead of, oh, I don't know, being used as fucking journal entries, but hey, go off, I guess. Despite my frustration, I did think the notes were still interesting and insightful to read and worth getting. Anyways, all that being said, the toppings rating for this game gets a plain pico de gallo, which is a 3.5 out of 5. There is a lot of potential here, and to be honest, the game's saving graces are the art style, amazing cutscenes, and beautiful sound design. Everything else though sort of falls a little flat, but there's still a lot of passion here and it shows when it needs to. Ahora, time to talk about La Salsa, the OST, which can heat things up if done right. And well, it definitely helps set an atmosphere. Composed by Kacper
Kajzderski.
Yeah, that guy. Well, the music I can best describe as more of a mood setter than it is something memorable. That's not to say it's bad, I mean the main theme is cool to listen to. I don't know how to describe it, but it reminds me a lot of some of the music that you would hear in games from around that early 2000s era with its electric guitar riffs and drums. I Live Again is a great example of what a Western horror song would sound like. It has a very gloomy feel to it, yet I can see this being played in some sort of cowboy movie. No Rest for the Wicked reminded me a lot of the Fallout song from the first game, Second Chance. This song was nice to listen to when it came on because it really embodies what it's like to walk through a cursed hellscape at night looking at the moon, while in the far off distance seeing ghosts or hearing voices from a past where they feel as though they have never left, despite an apocalypse taking place. Swamps at High Noon is a great song that really has that "you look a little lost in these here bayous, boy" vibe. The vocals in the background also give this song some life, almost to say that not only are you a stranger here, but you're also far from welcomed. I will say that the music used in boss fights were really great and invoked a sense of tension between you and whatever hellspawn you were getting rid of. O sea, listen to this shit, banda. Fíjense, I felt like I was fighting a Dark Souls boss here. The game's OST also just goes hand in hand with some of the sound design, adding a lot of depth, and it has even made me feel like I was in some sort of thriller where one wrong move could have possibly been my last. Again, the audio engineer needs a raise. As far as criticism goes, well, I mean, the OST wasn't bad. I did feel like I was listening to the same track with some distinctions in between the others, so at time I wasn't really sure if I heard the same song or not. Also, it wasn't the type of OST where I was listening to it outside of just playing the game, and when I was, it was because I needed it for review purposes. Am I saying it's boring? No, but I am saying it isn't super memorable aside maybe 2 or 3 songs. Like, I would hear the music playing and think, man, this is kinda cool, but then never really bother to remember it again or look for it except for, again, review purposes. Moreover, the OST isn't on Steam for some reason, so yeah, they get minor deduction points for that. I digress. The salsa rating for this OST gets a tapatio, or a 3.5 out of 5. Not super spicy, but hey, for some regular store-bought bottled salsa, this isn't bad. Okay, we got all our ingredients. What would this game look like as a taco? Let me show you. Alright, cool, we're here. Gluten-free. Oh wait, hold on. Gluten-free, keto, fuck that. I swear, dude, the one time I'm looking for a GF and it's not even a girlfriend, it's fucking gluten-free tortillas. Let's see, these... Yep, perfect. Yeah, she thin. Let's go. Do y'all think I could write this off as a fucking tax deduction? Hello everybody, welcome to another episode of Tacos con el Taquero, and if I could just steal your attention for a moment, peep the drip. That being said, let's make some pico de gallo. First things first is you're gonna slice up a tomato and then you're gonna dice that bitch up. Don't dice it up too much to the point where it's pasty, but dice it up enough where at least you are tasting tomato in your pico. Next thing you're gonna want to do is get a pre-chopped onion. Shake that thing a little bit until you get the desired amount for your pico de gallo. I went with about this much, and then wipe off any excess and put that in the bowl. Get some cilantro from the cilantro cactus. If you know, chop that up and then put that in the bowl. Next, you're gonna grab some Midwestern people kryptonite, otherwise known as a jalapeno, and then cut it in half. I got this one from Safeway, so one side has seeds and the other side doesn't. Of course, my melanin won't let me allow me to use the one without seeds, so we're just gonna chop the one with seeds because I like some spice out of life. Take out your aggressions on one lime and then squeeze the juice into the bowl, and then from there add salt and pepper to taste, mix it up, and from here you should have some pico de gallo. From here you're gonna want to cook your schmeat, only seasoned with salt and pepper. After all, that is the rating we gave it. And then from there, hopefully you've been studying the blade, because with one fatal move you should be able to just dice this up. In the meantime, let's hope your tortillas were heating up in el comal. Ojalá you've been having them there for a while now, because you want them nice and warm. By the way, do you guys see this shot? Pretty neat, huh? Yeah, I did that shit myself. Take a look at it. Now time for the piece of le resistance, the tap-in uncle sauce. Preferably use one that's not expired. I asked my mother about it, but she said apparently it's still good. So hey, I'm trusting her intuition. I'll let you guys know how that went afterwards. You're gonna put a generous amount on your tacos, and then from there, it's time to taste. I decided to take matters into my room. I am literally using a fucking mini fridge as a table. Anyways, tacos de Blood West. Alrighty. They look pretty good. Alright, here we go. Not the worst taco I've ever had. There's something missing. I feel like there's something missing. I couldn't tell you what it is. As far as tacos go, they're kind of basic, but not like super basic, but like, I don't know. It's decent in the sense that like the ingredients themselves could be slightly better. Small intermission. So the rest of the footage that I got of me eating the taco, well, got corrupted. How? I have zero clue. Am I bothered? Very much so. But hey, the show must go on, right? Anyways, the taco itself was decent. There wasn't really anything too bad about it, but there wasn't anything spectacular either. Guerrero tortillas, for example, they're kind of the basic bitch next door when it comes to tortillas, o sea, they don't have a bad taste. However, there are better options out there, but I still catch myself buying them, so what does that say about me? The thin steak with salt and pepper is exactly that. It is thin steak with salt and pepper. I mean, it is just interesting enough to keep you kind of engaged, but at the same time, you know it's no arrachera. Pico de gallo on a taco. I'm not gonna lie, not my first choice as far as toppings go, but hey, it was pretty decent. And I'm not just saying that because I made the damn thing, but also just because the other flavors kind of went well with it. It's weird to describe, but I mean, it was enjoyable enough. Update on the expired tapatio? I'm alive, surprisingly. As far as tapatio on a taco, I mean, does it scratch the salsa itch? No, but does it get the job done? Sorta. Those are just my personal thoughts on it. And that's the end of the video. That's the end of the review. So hopefully you guys enjoyed that. My sincerest apologies, by the way. I originally wanted to get this video out by Halloween, but some stuff happened and well, now we're here 19 days after the fact. Despite everything though, I did enjoy the final product and hopefully you guys did too. Thank you guys so much for your support. Remember to like, comment, subscribe if you already haven't. And well, my next video is going to be out either before the year ends, press X for doubt, or probably around the new year. I don't know, to be completely honest with you. It's also not even going to be a game review. It's going to be more of a video essay. So, you know, be on the lookout for that. So do yourselves a favor, alrighty? Turn that bell notification on. The taco bell, if you will. Muchas gracias, banda, as always. And well, until then, pa la próxima.
John Periño, Lady Gaga, lentes en la cara.